Hello everyone and welcome back to another Bimmer Fixer video, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to do a bit of a home DIY wheel refurb. Now by any means this isn't going to be a professional alloy wheel refurb, but they're going to look a lot better than what they do now. They've gone a bit scabby over the years and there's a bit of curb rash or damage that needs to be repaired. Also as well, allow yourself plenty of time to do it. These wheels in particular, the MV2's, if you don't know already, are particularly finicky to work on because of the spokes and the narrow gaps. So give yourself plenty of time to do them, especially if you could do a 4 like I'm going to be doing. So yeah, just allow yourself plenty of time to do it because it is a bit of a ball ache to do. So things you're going to need, obviously you're going to need your paints, primers and lacquer. So the MV2 silver is Reflex Silver for BMW, which is A44 is the paint code for it. If you want to keep it the original factory colour, which I'm going to do, but by all means get creative, you can paint them whatever colour you like. Then we obviously have some primer, and then we have some lacquer as well. Never used this supplier before, but if they're any good I'll make sure I'll link them in the description. We've got some alloy wheel cleaner as well, just to clean things up before we start, and some rubbing alcohol to get rid of any grease before we actually paint. We've got some metal reinforced filler as well to fill the deep scratches and nasty nicks and things. We've got a full range of sandpapers as well. On this pack it's P60 or 60 down to 1200. I think we're only going to use P80 to maybe 600, maybe 800. So, but a full range there. Heat gun as well to help things along with the drying process and everything, help keep things going along smoothly and fast. And then we have some replacement caps and stickers for the centre. Oh, also some gloves as well, because what you'll find is when you're rubbing down, especially by hand, you can get actually friction burns. So if you could do all 4, your hands can take a battering. So some gloves is advised, and then some rags as well. What I'm going to do for masking as well, I've got some masking tape, but I've also got some playing cards that I'm going to go around the outside to mask. Ideally, it would be great to break the seal, the bead on the tyre, and then be able to get something right in between the wheel and the tyre. But I haven't actually got a bit of kit to break the bead, so I'm going to try and do my best and just get some cards around the outside and mask it up that way. But I think that's pretty much everything. What we'll do now is we're going to give the wheels a quick wash with the alloy wheel cleaner, just to get rid of all the grit and as much brake dust as possible, just so we can really analyse the wheel and find out what the damage is. Okay, so that's the wheel cleaned up, and it gives you a chance to kind of have a look at some of the damage. So some of these hopefully will come out with the 80 grit, but there will be some that will need the reinforced filler as well, and get rid of the scabby cap, and we've got to get rid of the M Sport badge there. But what we'll do now is we will I'll get you set up so you can see me start on the 80 grit sandpaper. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to start at the worst one here. I'm just going to go straight at it. Oh, the camera's rubbing up against the wheel. There we go. So try and keep it with the 80 grit. Just try and keep it as local as possible, because the further you venture out, the more work you're going to cause yourself, because what's going to happen is you're going to need to sand down the scratches. In some cases, in fact, I think on the other wheels that there is one that I might need a file actually to kind of help out. But just that already starting to take the worst of it off. We've got one up there as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crack on with the 80 grit on the really harsh bits on the wheels I'm working on at the moment. I think again I may need a wire brush, there's a little circle drill attachment to go in. This one's not too bad, but the other wheel's quite corroded in there. But yeah, so I'm going to carry on with 80 grit, and then you will draw me back when I think I might go with 160, but we'll see how we go with 80 grit. Okay, so we've given all the serious damage a good scrub with the 80 grit, and as you can see there's still some small little imperfections here and across around the rim. So what we're going to do is we're going to use some of our filler. Now what we're going to do with filler is less is more. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop that much into the lid, so as you can see that. So you want a little bit like that, and then you want a touch of hardener, so just a little blob. And there you go. So the more you put in, the quicker it's going to harden. And then what we need to do is, I've just realised I've got my name on the back of this card, so I'm trying not to show you. Alright, so then what we'll do is scoot that around like that, and then give that a good mix up. And when you're mixing it, you want to mix it with something that's non-porous, because what can happen is if you use things like cardboard, it will absorb into the cardboard and it affects the hardener, or the filler, sorry. So I'm just going to mix that up. So give it a good mix until it's all one colour. So I'll quickly mix this up. I think someone's just cut a lorry up. Right, okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to put a small bit on. So I've got a card there just to keep it off the tyre if we can help it. So just put it on with the card like that, and then what you can do is with your cleanish finger, just run that along like so, and just fill the gaps, and then you can just take off the excess like that. There we go. That's already starting to go off, so try and get as much excess off as you can. Like that. And then what we'll do, we'll let that set while I'll go around and do the others, and then we'll rub that back down, probably with a 60 or thereabouts, and then we're ready for the next grade of sandpaper. Okay, so our filler's now gone nice and hard. So what we're going to do now is we're going to use some 180 to just bring that down, that level with the wheel. This is what's quite important, to not go too crazy. Try and get that little lump there. And what we're going to do is going to go over everywhere where we use the 80 grit. I'm going to go around with the 180 and then a 320, and then finally I think it'll probably be like a 600 grit all over, just to get ready. So don't be too worried if you take too much off, because you can always put a little bit on. But there you go, you get the idea. And just obviously this bit is a bit easier without gloves, because you can then feel if you've got any. I've spilled a bit there. You can feel then if you've got any high spots. And there we go. That's nice and smooth. I've probably got, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little tool in there probably just to scrape out and get that little lump there. So just keep checking ever so often, just to make sure that you've not gone too far. There we go. But there you go, you get the idea. So, another thing worth mentioning as well, every time you change grit, or you get a finer grit, always go slightly over where you last were. So with the 80 grit, we're about here. So with the 180, I'm going to go a little bit further, and then so on and so on. It just helps fade it in as well. So I'm going to carry on with this one and then do the rest of the rim. Then I'll go over everything. I'll bring it back when I go and do a complete rub down in probably the 600, and then we'll get ready for paint. Okay, so I thought I'd spare you the hours of sanding. It took forever, as I've warned you before. Don't do this if you know, it's not for the faint-hearted. Or if you're going to do one, but it's not too bad. But if you could do all four, it's an absolute pain. But anyway, so to recap, we did the 80 grit on the really heavy corroded parts and the filler. Then we went over those again with 180 and expanding it slightly. Then 320 over that again, and to be fair, most of the wheel as well. I've tried to get some of this dark stuff off as much as I can, but it seems to be like part of the wheel now. And then I finished off with some 600, and I think that's taken it down enough. So after that, what I need to do is just degrease it, so rub it down with some isopropyl alcohol, some rubbing alcohol, and then you can use your playing cards, or like I said earlier, it would have been great to be able to separate the bead from the wheel. Then that way we can put some tape around it a bit easier, or a bag. But we're going to go with the playing card trick. So all you need to do is just pop the cards in, make sure they're nice and secure in there because you don't want them coming out, and then work your way along, and then so on. Now, if you want, you can put some tape on the tyre and then put the cards in, just to protect it from some overspray. To fair, I might actually do that. But yeah, so that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to make sure everything's all degreased properly. Then I'll get the cards round, and then I will show you the first coat of primer. Okay, something I forgot to tell you as well. After I did all the sanding and everything, I washed the wheel again, just give it another degrease. So after you've done all the rubbing down, just give it another proper wash off, just get rid of all the dust because it gets everywhere and all these little holes and everything, and allow it to dry completely. Otherwise you can end up getting water in the paint, and it's an absolute nightmare. And also don't forget to tape up your valve. So, primer. If it's a bit of a cold day, just give the can a bit of a warm up, put it in some hot water, give it a little run over with a heat gun, but we've had the sun on it all day, so it's nice and warm. With primer, I'm going to, I think we're going for about 4 coats. The first one going to be, as I'm sure you've seen in other videos, just a light dusting. It's just to give the rest of the coat something to adhere to. So, all you need to do, it's also worth mentioning, don't forget to wear a mask or be outside at least. So there we go. That's our first coat. What we'll do, we'll give that 10 minutes or so just to dry, and then we'll go over it for the second, third and fourth. What I'll do, I'll bring you back once I've done all the other coats, because once you've seen one coat of primer, you've seen them all. So yeah, so I'll bring you back once all the priming is done. Okay, so that is the 4 coats of primer applied. Now, what you need to do is you need to then rub that down. So I'm going to use some 800 grit to rub that down, because what happens is, especially with a high build primer, is you get a bit of a rough texture, and that will show straight through the paint. So with your 800 grit, obviously it goes without saying, make sure it's nice and dry. I left this for about an hour, which is probably a bit overkill, but so just lightly, you don't have to go crazy. You want to pay particular attention to these areas, these flat areas here, because what happens is your eye will be drawn to this here, and like the front area here and the top of the spokes. So don't go too mad, but yeah, just take your time, don't rush, go over it with your 800 grit. Then once that's all done, then wipe it all back down again with a tack cloth, or only a little bit of isopropyl alcohol and a clean lint-free cloth. Wipe it down, and then after that you're ready for the first top coat. Okay, so that's our primer rubbed down with our 800 grit. Now this is the final point of no return, and now you need to check for any last little blemishes or anything, because what you see now is what you'll see in the paint. So I'm happy with what I've got there. There's probably going to be a few little things, but the result I'm looking for should be absolutely fine. So what I'm going to do now, same again, 4 coats. Now when you apply top coat, especially with the MV2 alloys, aim for the spokes first, because what you can find is if you go for the flatter surfaces first, paint that's gone slightly over will hit the top ridges on the spokes, and then when you go to do the spokes, you accumulate too much paint and you can get a run. So what we're going to do is we're going to go light dusting again with the first one. We're going to probably go for 4, and then because I'm losing light as well, I'll leave it overnight and then apply the lacquer in the morning. So let's go for the top of the spokes first. Because what you're also aiming for is the gaps in between the spokes. So if you go to do the flat areas first, then the spokes, like I say, you can end up getting a bit of a drip. But there we go. So first coat. Oh, I'm downwind. That's the first coat done. Like I say, I'll go with probably about 4 coats. It's nice and dry and quite warm this evening, but like I say, if you're struggling for temperature wise, just give it a quick run over with the heat gun in between coats, and that will speed it up. Go for light more than heavy, obviously, because you don't want to get runs, but I will bring you back, hopefully, if it's not too dark. I'll show you what it looks like with the 4 coats before the lacquer. Okay, so that's 4 coats applied. I'm going to leave it overnight, and then I'll apply the lacquer in the morning. That said, I'll see what the finish is like in the morning. I may give it another coat and then do a top coat, but that's me done for today. I will see you in the morning. You should see me in a few seconds time. Hello, good morning, and welcome back to day 2 of the wheel refurb. So where we're up to now, we're ready to apply some coats of lacquer. So just like before, make sure that the surface is nice and dust free, especially if it's been left overnight. And also the cards as well, keep them clean if you can, or rotate them once they've been used. It just limits the risk of paint or primer coming off of the side of the card going onto the lacquer, because at this point now it'll make a grown man cry if that happens. So what we're going to do, we're going to apply anywhere from 2 to 3, maybe even 4 coats. It'll be down to individual preference really. I'm going to probably end up doing, well, I don't know, we'll see how that goes, but the first one's going to be a dusting, and then we'll give it a second, and then we'll gauge it by there. It's the same as before, just a nice dusting. Like that. Downwind again. There we go. Right, so that's here, light dusting, and then just like when you applied the primer and the paint, aim for in between the spokes first, and then the full diameter. So I'll crack on with that. I'll leave it for about 5 to 10 minutes, or 15 minutes actually, with lacquer in between coats. And then what I'll do, I'll give it the other coats, and you should hopefully join me back when all the coats have been applied, and then we're just ready for finishing touches. Okay, so I'll give it 4 coats of lacquer, like I say, dusting to start with, and then build up the layers as you go along. And I'm over the moon with the results. It actually looks better in person than it does on camera, which is a result. The cards started to remove themselves, so I'll just whip them out anyway. But yeah, so what we're ready for now is finishing touches, which are a new M Sport badge to go in the centre. Last time I did this, it was on the wonk and it drove me mad. Bear with me. Straighten up. There we go. Make sure it goes the right way as well. So the bottom of the M pointing towards the tyre, if you're wondering. And then we have a new cap. So what I'll do is I'll start the peeling of that. So actually, let's get it off now. Okay. Put that in the centre. Again, try and line it up with the badge. Like so. Awesome. So then what we need to do is peel off the tape. There we go. So we've got a tiny bit, that's where the car's come off. It's a tiny little bit of, if you do get any overspray or anything like that, you can just rub that off with a bit of wet and dry paper with no water, and that'll come off. So yeah, that's finished result. I'm over the moon. So what we'll do now is get it back on the car and then see what it finally looks like. Okay, so something else you can do to enhance the look of the refurb wheel is to give your bolts a quick lick of paint as well, because they really stand out if you've got a freshly painted wheel and then you've got rusty bolts. So yeah, the prep's not as intense with bolts, just make sure they're grease free, I suppose. I've got some Plasticoat metal paint. You've seen me use this on loads of stuff, but actually for the first time using it on metal, I think. Okay, so yeah, same principle, just you don't have to be too precise. I'm just getting the centre of those locking wheel nut. It doesn't even matter if you get runs or anything, just give them a good decent coating. There we go. I'd probably say if the earlier you do that, the better, because it gives them more time to dry before you put the wheels back on. If you go to put those on before they're dried properly, obviously it'll just come off. There we go. Okay, job complete. So all the wheels back on the car. Oh, looks a million times better than what it did. Yeah, well happy with that. And there we go, all done. All four back on the car, looking a million times better than what they did. Like I said at the start of the video, it's not a task for the light-hearted. It takes forever, and it will take up the best part of a weekend if you're going to do all four, and if they're a bit scabby like mine were. But I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it useful. If you've got any questions, ask away in the comments, and I'll get back to everyone as quick as I can. And if you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks very much, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.